I'm Matthew.
And I'm Mike. Welcome back to Keep Liberty Alive.
When we last left George Washington and the American Army, they had just won two minor yet significant battles against the British at Trenton and Princeton.
In this episode, we will highlight some of the major battles over the next 3 years in the quest for independence.
Welcome to Part 4, Episode 3, The War for Independence Rages On.
The next battle of significance in the Revolutionary War was the Battle of Brandywine, which occurred on September 11th, 1777 in eastern Pennsylvania, 25 miles south of Philadelphia.
This battle lasted about 11 hours, all taking place on September 11th, and had the most troops fighting of any battle prior in a Revolutionary War.
Both sides suffered fairly heavy casualties, and it was a loss for the Americans, who ultimately retreated.
A point of significance in this battle was that it was the first battle in which France's young Marquis de Lafayette participated.
Marie-Joseph Paul-Yves Riche Gilbert de Motier Marquis de Lafayette was a young French aristocrat who was enamored with the Americans' battle for independence.
Following his family tradition, he became a commissioned military officer in France at 13, and at 19 joined in the American cause for freedom, and would become a very important part of the American Army.
At the Battle of Brandywine, he helped facilitate the American retreat, even though he himself had been wounded.
The next battles of great significance were the battles of Saratoga.
There were two battles fought on September 19th and October 7th, 1777, near Saratoga, New York.
The British had planned to isolate New England from the southern states, but the American Army, including Benedict Arnold, were able to defeat the British and keep them from isolating the North from the South.
This was a massive win for the Americans and a genuine defeat for the British.
Significantly, it led to the French deciding to support the cause of American liberty.
Meanwhile, back in Pennsylvania, the Battle of Germantown was fought on October 4th.
After the Battle of Brandywine, the British had taken control of Philadelphia.
General Washington decided to attack the British just outside of Philadelphia at Germantown.
The attack was unsuccessful, and the Americans were forced to fall back.
After this defeat, Washington and the American Army headed to Valley Forge for the winter and retraining.
The next significant battle was the Battle of Monmouth on June 28, 1778 in New Jersey.
In February 1778, the Americans signed a treaty of alliance with the French, which forced the British to go on defense.
The British were ordered to evacuate Philadelphia and cross New Jersey so they could be ferried to New York.
Washington and his army were determined to stop them from joining the rest of the British troops in New York.
After the battle, both sides declared victory, neither side having struck decisively either way.
In 1778, the British captured Savannah, Georgia.
A combined American and French force tried to take it back from September 16th to October 19th, 1779, in what is known as the Siege of Savannah.
The attempt was unsuccessful, and the British would retain control of Savannah until near the end of the war.
Fought between March 29th and May 12th, 1780, the Siege of Charleston saw the British successfully occupy Charleston, South Carolina.
After failing in their northern strategies, evacuating Philadelphia, the British decided to focus on the southern American states.
Capturing Charleston was a major victory for the British and one of the worst American losses during the war.
Another big win for the British was the Battle of Camden on August 16, 1780, in South Carolina.
The the British handily defeated what should have been a superior American force, led by Major General Horatio Gates, who had commanded forces at the Battle of Saratoga, defeating the British.
This was a big loss for the Americans, and Gates never held a field command again.
Also fought in South Carolina was the Battle of Cowpens on January 17th, 1781.
This battle was a huge win for the American Army, which suffered very few casualties, overwhelmingly defeating the British, and was another big turning point in the war.
Shortly after signing the Declaration of Independence, there was an agreement in the Continental Congress that a more formal political arrangement was necessary between the states.
During the 4.5 years of the war so far, a treaty of sorts was drawn up, approved, and sent to the states for approval and ratification.
That treaty was the Articles of Confederation, which was ratified on March 1st, 1781, creating a new union.
In Part 4, Episode 4, we will go in depth into the Articles of Confederation.